We good. We're on. We're live right now. We're recording.
Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Xander Bennett here with the PokeBeach Roundtable talking about the Philadelphia Regional Championships happening 2 weekends from now. Everyone introduce yourself quickly. Someone start, then we'll start the discussion.
Hi, I'm Eric. You guys know me. I write for PokeBeach. So does everyone else.
I'm Alex. I write for PokeBeach. So does everyone else.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Chris Collins. I sometimes write for PokeBeach.
Alright, well, I'm Xander Bennett and I write for PokeBeach, and this is how we're doing it. Alright, so before we talk about Philly, let's take a step back and look at Arizona. We see Greninja doing really well, but other than that, what surprises came out? And feel free to talk about Greninja, but that was just a big one for me. Eric, why don't you start it off?
Yeah, I think Greninja was probably the biggest surprise. Travis Nunless is also writer for PokeBeach. He was testing the deck, and he told me how strong the deck was the day before the event. I didn't really believe him, and then I saw it, and I was like, oh, crap, this deck's really good. So I think Greninja. I think everyone after testing for the past couple weeks after Phoenix, everyone realizes Greninja is probably the best deck in the format, and you really can't take a loss to Greninja going into Philadelphia. Night March was still big. I still think Night March is going to be big. I don't think Karen really affects Night March at all. I think Night March is still a very good play. I guess the only other thing that kind of surprised me from Arizona would maybe be the Vileplume Toolbox is doing so well. I didn't actually think that deck was good at all when Sam Huff got top 4 at Worlds with it. But, it's had a ton of really good placings, not just in Expanded, but, also in Standard. So clearly the archetype is good. So I think that's just something that surprised me from Phoenix and something that you need to watch out for Philly. Not as much as Greninja, but I think, you might run into a Vileplume or something. You should definitely be prepared for it.
Well, yeah. To kind of defend the Vileplume box, it actually saw a ton of play day one by a lot of players. Even Alex played it. So it definitely saw its fair amount of play. I definitely expected at least a few of them to make top 32. I was actually surprised at how many didn't make top 32, in all honesty.
I was just surprised the deck was doing so well because, like I said, I just didn't think the deck was good. But, sometimes I'm wrong, so...
That was my big surprise was, in testing, I played the same 60 as Grady and Kyle, and we all knew it was pretty good in a lot of different matchups. We knew we had to dodge one or two, Greninja being one of them. We didn't think Greninja would be as big as it was, and we also didn't think the mirror would be as big as it was either. So we were all surprised that everyone kind of was prepared for Sammy Box, whereas we had the mindset going in of, oh man, everyone forgot about this deck, we're gonna crush, and we were way wrong on that, just eons wrong on that assumption. So that was my big surprise, was how many of the Vileplume box decks there were.
Yeah, Arizona was kind of like that last year, where it's oh wait, Archeostoist is still good. Nothing has changed since Worlds. But it's okay, Sammy Box is still good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think another big surprise was Primal Groudon making the top 8. That was pretty cool. We had all the NorCal players, they play their Primal Groudon. They're pretty good at this big game. Yeah. Or you say, Eric?
I actually wasn't surprised at all by Groudon making top 8. I think Groudon's one of the best decks in the format. I just think the only reason it doesn't see more play is because it's so hard to build, because getting 4 beaches is so expensive, or some people don't have the resources to borrow them. So that's the only reason I think Groudon doesn't see more play. I think Groudon's actually a very good deck, so I wasn't surprised to see it in top 8. I just, I think it's just limited amount of beaches, so limited amount of people can play the deck.
It's also just that a lot of people just play a game of Groudon, and you're a good turn with Groudon is that you attach an energy and you beach to 7, and it's that's not the kind of Pokemon that a lot of people like to do.
It is
personally
so boring.
Yeah. I remember talking with Ryan Sablehouse after he played Groudon, and he's this is the most boring Pokemon I've ever played in my entire life. But the deck's really good.
You guys are tripping.
I'm never shocked when it does well, because it's okay, yeah, someone busted out Groudon again. I'm more shocked that it's oh wow, you played Groudon for 14 rounds.
Groudon's the shit, dude. I played it up in I played it in Anaheim last. I got 11th with it in Anaheim last year, and that was the funnest I've ever had at a tournament playing Groudon. Because
It's really easy.
it's one of those tournaments where, like, attaching and evolving turn 2 is, like, busted. Like, oh, yes, I got the evolution turn 2. But, like, seeing your opponent struggles, like, okay, what do I do here? I can't Lysander, I can't hit this thing, I can't shame it, I'll attack on Wobbuffet. Like, it's more fun, like, just, like, chatting with your opponent during the game and being like, so, yeah, you suck at Pokemon and I don't. Like, that's a lot of fun, so I like that aspect of it.
You're trash.
Exactly.
I'm going to take a minute to talk about Greninja. Like, we briefly covered Greninja. I had done no testing for that format just because I knew I wasn't going to Arizona. But I was like, what the heck? Like, 3 Greninjas made top 8. That's kind of ridiculous. And, like, personally, I think Travis's list was the best list in cut. Like, it's, like, Evo Soda's too good. And it's also just that if you expected Archeops, which is still really good, like, Travis beat Archeops and the other list didn't. And I feel like if Sosa or Brad, if either of them made day 2, that would have just been even tall and cut, like that simple. And it's just like
I agree.
it's just
with you.
like
Actually, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, you do it.
No, I agree with you. I think Greninja's stupidly good. I don't like Travis's list. I actually really like. I think Drew's list is by far the worst. I hate his list. I think it's really bad. I would never build a list like that for Greninja, just taking a loss to Archeops. That's Evil's one of the most popular, if not the most popular deck in the format. Like, he's so lucky. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But the reason I like Caleb's list the best is because I actually think it's like a really nice like medium between Travis's and Drew's. He plays Wally's. He played I think he played a Evo Soda. He played a Hex. He played a Gethys. Like, he played a lot of really good cards. And I played him twice, and I thought like his list was probably the most solid. So I think all the Greninja decks were good, but I think Caleb's list was the best. But I think Greninja is just so good right now.
I can pull up that list for it. I'm just gonna take a quick second and do that for Caleb's, because I kind of like skimmed over all of them, but I talked to Travis the most just because he's another writer.
Yeah, I got to play Caleb twice during both events, so I got to see most of his list, without seeing it online. So I got to see it play, and it flowed really smoothly. So I guess I got really lucky in beating him in top 8. Not really, because the matchup is somewhat close, but yeah, I think he had a really good list. So I think if you're gonna play Greninja, I would definitely build it off of his list.
Yeah. Do we have anything else we'd like to add about talking about Arizona before we kind of move on more towards Philly?
The tournament sucked, but everyone has harped on that way too much, so we should move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not our place right now. It's okay.
We're talking about decks.
It's abysmal. I did get to go see the Diamondbacks game, though, the last game of the season, and in that game there were home runs, there was like manufactured runs, replay reviews, a walk-off. It was the best baseball game I've ever seen, and I love Chase Field, right? I think that's what it's called. I love it. Oh, it was so cool.
Yep, Chase Field.
Thanks, Alex. Nice contribution.
Baseball, baby. 7 stadiums down. More to go.
Alright, so now looking more towards Philly. Oh, wait, Chris, do you have something to say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, like, it was kind of interesting, like, how Raikou and Rainbow Road, like, I wasn't really expecting Rainbow Road to go, like, as far as it did, taking a lot of top 32 spots, but, like, that was pretty cool. And then, like, the Raikou Eels thing, I played it in day 2. It's literally, like, it's like the definition of an auto loss for Toad Bats. So I mean, there you go.
Yeah, I was talking to.
I think I can beat it.
I was talking to Rahul about the list, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just an electric deck with a 1/1 Gallade in it." Like, well, why? And he's like, value. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then it just makes top 8, and it's like, I guess it's good.
I was talking to
a very good list.
I was talking to Michael between rounds. We were sitting there because we were both charging our phone at the same spot, and he was just saying like one Gallade just auto wins you any sort of speed Darkrai matchup, or it just auto wins it. You don't even need to attack with it. You just put it on the bench, and now they have to play around it. Like, it's one of those things where it just wins you the game, like just by doing it.
I can also see like. Fury Belt seems like a big issue for that deck, because even though you kind of trade 2 for 2 if you can get it, you still have to like go attach 2 energy with Dynamotor 110, attach 2 energy with Dynamotor 110. So like even more for just Turbo Dark, just being able to have another out to 2-hit KO and EX where you can just say, okay, instead of me having to fully get everything, I'll attach a DC to my Gallade, and then I can Dynamo Motor here, and then invest more in it next turn to get bigger KOs. Seem good. In regards to Rainbow Road, that deck has been like gaining popularity since it got top 8, because it did well at the Spring Regional, and then I played it for Rainbow Road with some other people, and then I did well there, and then it continues to come around. Except I think that gets bad, but we can jump to that.
Let's all not forget.
It's a good transition.
I think that's a very good segue, actually.
Speaking of transitions, let's talk about Philadelphia. The question that we can just highlight for this section is, what decks do you expect the meta will consist of at Philly? And my question is not Rainbow Road. I think Karen makes it bad. I know that we're gonna focus on Karen more with Night March and Vespa in a minute, but the deck is super reliant on Ho-Oh, and like you have 4 battle compressors, but like 2 of those battle compressors go to getting stuff you want in the discard pile, because you discard 3 Ho-Ohs, and then you discard 3 energy, and you discard an execute in there somewhere. So like that's 2 battle compressors you played just to set up your deck, and then you need another battle compressor just for like supporters. So like 3 of your 4 battle compressors have been used just to make your discard pile an efficient usage of your stuff. And then you get Karen, so you leave 1 battle compressor left for your Ho-Ohs. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, call on me.
Well, fine. Yeah, I don't care if they Karen me. You need Pokemon on your bench to take knockouts. They're putting Pokemon back in your deck. I don't see how you think this is a bad matchup at all. If you can't rebirth,
preach.
Oh no, what decks are gonna play Karen? Basically, you're gonna have Mega Man Electric. You're still gonna beat that deck. Who cares? You have Brizzy and Genesect. You're still gonna auto win that deck. Who cares? You're gonna play against bad players. You're gonna play against bad players. Karen. Who cares? You're gonna beat bad players. You're gonna play against Mega Ray. That's an auto win for Rainbow Road.
Oh yeah.
Why? There's nothing about Karen that makes Rainbow Road bad at all.
And the other thing is,
Rainbow Road is a very good play for Philly if you know how to play the deck.
You also have to remember that, like, before Battle Compressor was ever a thing, we got Ho-Ohs into the discard the old-fashioned way by Ultra Balling and Junipering. Like, why can't we just...
If you Sycamore, that's a compressor that you have to keep. Like,
why can't we just do that? Like, cool.
Yeah, but I mean...
Xander basically just described the Doomsday scenario, which with Rainbow Road never happens because that deck is super consistent and just runs through its entire deck all the time.
I get the Doomsday a lot. I flipped like Triple Tails 3 times in the entire event, and I still didn't shoot, so like I got lucky. But it's just like, I don't know. Maybe my fear with that deck is low. I go into Expanded with a large fear of Trev, and I feel like Trev, even with Greninja still being good, is still a good deck, as Eric is very willing to tell you eventually. But
definitely.
It's just a stupid deck. Like you just go Wally Trev turn 1 and beat so many matchups. And even if you go second versus Rainbow Road in a best of 3, like you're gonna guaranteed win that second game, assuming that they win the first game. And like you still have to just like you hit a hammer or 2 and you still win the matchup. Like
Trevenant is just a stupid deck. Honestly, like Expanded is probably, if you took out Trevenant and Ghetsis,
I would love Expanded.
Expanded would probably... I already love Expanded. I think Expanded is great.
Sure.
I think without those two, I think it would probably be the most healthy format maybe this game has ever seen.
Yeah, Expanded is... I love Expanded, but those 2 cards just... That would be fine.
I think they're just not fun for the... Trevenant's a stupid deck. Like, it's not... It doesn't take skill to run Trevenant. You just go, oh, I start Phantom. Oh, I have an Ultra Ball in my hand. I hope Jirachi isn't prized. Like, there you go. I won the game. It's really stupid, and it gets Trevenant gets better because of Karen. Trevenant will probably run a Karen or so, and I mean I think a lot of the matchups that are going to be at Philly that I think are going to be popular, such as Night March. I still think Night March is good. Don't listen to anyone else who says Night March is dead. Karen, they're wrong. Night March is still a very good deck. It is one of my top choices. Definitely consider playing it. Trevenant still beats Night March. It beats Rainbow Road, which is going to get a lot more popular.
Yeah, Trev destroys Rainbow Road. That matchup is literally 1090.
Yeah.
if not worse. It's so bad.
It's like 50-50, maybe slightly unfavorable against Greninja, depending on the build. Let's see. What else do I think is going to be big? You lose
Before you get too far on your list here, I want to just hear your thoughts. I'm not trying to pick a side regardless, but your thoughts on why Night March isn't... I mean, like, completely dead, yeah, it doesn't absolutely 100% kill it, but why do you think Night March will be as popular as you say it will?
I don't think
I
it's
wanna
gonna be
take
as popular.
Can I just start and then you guys can
Yeah,
follow up?
you start, and I'll say what I'm thinking. I hope it's the same thing,
Okay.
because then I'll just sound
So-
terrible.
Basically, like I said, a lot of the decks that are gonna play Karen first off are decks that you're still gonna beat. They're still good matches for you. It doesn't matter. The only one that like maybe it swings is like Mega Manectric, just because hitting 210 after a Karen might be it can be pretty tough if you use a lot of your resources. But like Karen really isn't that detrimental to the deck if you manage your resources well. But fine. Like as long as you just don't like use 4 battle compressors on turn 1 when you don't need to. Like if you only like use what you have to and you just conserve everything that you need to. Night March is still the same thing. Like you're not going to be hurt by Karen. Night March survived when Trump was a thing. Like Trump card, obviously you got your compressors back, but it still hurt. So and Toe was even stronger then. So
I don't think that Night March is dead, but I think like that doesn't mean that people will play the deck though. Like I think people like legitimately think that Karen kills Night March,
Which it doesn't.
I think that's one of the like failures of groupthink. Like everyone says Night March is dead, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. People don't put in the time to test. Like if they went and still like tested Night March, they'd realize Karen actually doesn't really do much to the deck at all. Especially since no one really is gonna be playing it. Well, no one good is probably gonna play it unless they're playing a deck that only is back and noted because of Karen. And if they're doing that, they're not going to do well because those decks are bad. Because there are a lot of decks that are really good that destroy those decks. So, like, the meta, I think, for Philly is going to be very similar to Arizona. I think you're going to see more Greninja, though. I think you're going to see more Trevenant. I think you're going to see maybe a little bit more Rainbow Road. About the same amount of Evil Tall, maybe a little bit less Night March. But I think good players and people who test the deck are going to be like, yeah, okay, this deck's still good. They're still going to play it. You're going to see maybe a little bit of Toad Bats. I don't know if me and Chris popularized it enough. I think the deck is still really good. I'll probably play it for Philly. And I think that's really the meta. Like, I think, you're going to have some players thinking that, Manectric and VG are good because, Karen, but they're really not. And I don't think you're going to see, like, I think a lot of people are going to realize that and be like, yeah, I'm not playing these bad decks. And
all right.
See that many of them.
But before we jump on the Mega Manectric, because I know that both me and Alex are upset that you just said that Mega Manetric's not good.
It has a lot of very good matchups, I will give it that, but I will not play, and I wouldn't consider anything for Philly that auto loses to Greninja.
It doesn't, though!
It auto loses.
No, it doesn't!
Auto loses. Yes, even with Guard.
Even with Trev?
Pause for 1 second, because I'm going to say my 2 cents about Night March, and then we can jump into Manectric, before we just start screaming fits at each other. Night March is definitely going to see less play, but I mean, I think if Night March is like top 16 the event, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, it'll definitely, like, at least 1 or 2 are going to, like, do well, and then people are going to be like, wait, we still have to think about that deck. But one thing that I'm considering in my list is running Empoleon, kind of like the Night March Empoleon list that they ran back with Trump card as a thing, because it's, you only discard 1 Night March, but its value, you still get to draw 2 cards, so it's like it's good a lot of the time. And also, like, you can still attack with Empoleon. Attack command is still a good attack, so like you can do some stuff with that. Like if you can take a turn where they go like they Karen you, and you go like, okay, attack command, and then next turn Night March, and you're still trading 1 for 1 on, or like 2 for 2 on prizes, and that works out. So it's just like another thing. It's just like if you don't play that deck over the top, you will still win. Like, yes, you have 4 battle compressors, but you have 4 time puzzle. So it's like a lot of the time when you play the deck in standard, it's like, oh, I have these time puzzles, I don't know what to do with them if you hit the good draw, which Night March had the good draw a lot in standard before. But expanded, you're like, oh, okay, I can't just vigorously play out my time puzzles and just get stuff, because in that moment I'll have a better advantage if I do it. Like, time puzzles are now almost more of a commodity than battle compressors. Just, at least against the Karen decks.
So here's 2 things to.
Resources with Night March are not going to feel any. What's it called? They're not going to feel any like thing from Karen.
So here's a.
Sorry. The resources are going to get hurt. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. My thing on Karen is most people are just if you consider it saying, hey, I'm going to put 1 Karen in, it's going to solve that matchup. I don't think that, in some situations, because like if you Karen in back-to-back turns, like they just burned a whole lot of resources trying to get Night Marchers. And that probably helps you swing the matchup if you can hit Karen versus Seeker lights out. But what happens if you in any deck that plays a DCE, right? Which is a lot. You got Quasi, you got Dark, you got Toad, you got Rainbow Row, you got Anything that
March, yeah.
anything, even Mega Manetric. I put a DCE in my Nats and Worlds list. Anything that runs a DCE, why not also run one copy of Toad? Because then all of a sudden, like, you Karen Toad them, which is the old strategy of trump card Toad, and now they can't do anything. It's the same thing. Like, I don't see why it's so hard to tech one single Toad in and get that turn where you retreat into Toad, slap a DCE Karen, and now Night March is done. Like, period.
I definitely agree. I think some decks can do that. I tried doing that in VG. My VG list that I put on PokeBeach that you guys can check out actually had a Toad in it.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
It's PokeBeach, man.
But I don't really like the Toad in there after testing it a little bit more. It really, even after Karen and like Toad, like I still felt that VG just get rolls by Night March. Like there are some decks where it definitely works. You can just put that Toad in and just say, yeah, I'm gonna Karen and Toad them and they're gonna lose. But
yeah. Like Rainbow Road, that should work. Rainbow Road, that should work. If you go Karen Toad playing Rainbow Road, that should be fine. But like if the difference with that deck is a non-EX deck that trades non-EXs while they trade non-EXs, and then you hit the turn where you go Karen Punch. But when you're playing VG, you're trading EXs to their non-EXs, and then you go Karen Punch, and it's like, okay, well, if I'm playing the Gallade still or the Empoleon, I still trade, and your Toad's gone, and I get items eventually, and I still win.
Yeah.
Also, in Night March, like, Special Charge is probably a essential card now, right?
Yeah.
Well, just because you can't time puzzle for DCE as effectively now, so you just run one and like, not the end of the world.
I think Special Charge is definitely more worth playing. I still don't think it's that good in Night March, but I think if there's ever a format to run Special Charge, now is the format to run Special Charge in Night March.
Okay, can we move on to Manetric now?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. Alex is over there excited in his seat.
I mean, yeah, no, Manetric. Like,
Do I need to set a timer?
No, I'm watching the time. We're at 22 minutes. We're doing pretty well. We're on a good clip.
Oh, okay, sweet.
So my whole thing with Manetric is I was always chomping at the bit with like, yes, Karen's out, and this is what kills Night March, and that was ever the only thing that beat Manetric at all. At Nationals, I went 7-1 against everything not named Manetric, and 1-6 against everything named Night March. Like, that's just telling you right there. And my one loss that wasn't Night March was the Mirror. The Mirror playing Regice. Like, you don't have any outs to that at that point. But I don't see why not. Like, Garb for one thing, it doesn't auto-win you that matchup. I know that. Because you're still struggling.
You're talking about Greninja, right?
I'm talking about Greninja, yeah. Manetric versus Greninja. Manetric Garb. Because that's the one that everyone's kind of leaning towards. And it's the one I would lean towards, honestly. Manetric Garb still doesn't have a good Greninja matchup because you cannot one-shot Greninja. And that's awful.
They're going to cycle through 3 Greninja breaks and just kill you.
Yeah, and you can't do crap. Yeah. But why not tech in one Trevenant EX? Now all of a sudden,
because I like playing consistent decks.
It is consistent. It is consistent with one Trev. Like that's not hard to get at all.
So you're playing what, like 6 lightning,
6 lightning, 2 psychic, 2 grass,
1 grass, 1 DCE or something like that. That's so inconsistent.
It's not though. It's 5 lightning, 2 psychic, 2 grass, and it's not inconsistent at all because that's almost carbon copy what I ran at Worlds, and I hit Trev every single time I needed to against Waterbox under item lock. And so it's one of those things. It's not super hard because turn 1 you can go attach Max Elixir, Floatstone.
Waterbox is a different matchup than Greninja.
Okay, well,
Waterbox they can't cycle through their stuff. Like,
right.
You can definitely just take knockouts. Like
Waterbox is also the difference between trading 2 for 2 and 2 for 1.
Right. I'm not talking. Like, I'm just saying that in Trev, you can get it under item lock, but in that matchup, like let's just think about it for a second. Turn 1, turn 2, you kind of get early knockouts on either a Talonflame, Froakie, or Frogadier. You can take 1 or 2 early prizes, and then from there they evolve, and you can't 130 them anymore. But by this time it's turn 3 or 4, and energies are already accelerated to the board. If you could hit that early Trev, you have energies on it, and then you just start blopping Greninjas. Now you've taken 2 to 3 more prizes because they can't shuriken your Trev, and they're really struggling to try to like 3-shot your Trev. And by that point, you're 1 or 2 lifesavers away from winning the game. That's just how I see the matchup. It is still. I would say it is still in Greninja's favor. Like, end of discussion, Greninja still has the favor in that matchup, but playing a Trev makes it way closer even than people realize.
Okay, yeah, I think playing Trevenant probably helps the matchup. I could see that. Weakness is very nice. But I just, on a turn where they just go Megaphone, Giant Water Shuriken the active, Giant Water Shuriken the active, and then kill the Trevenant, and then maybe N or something like that as well. Like,
yep,
you're screwed.
And that's what I'm saying is
like,
that's why it's
Greninja just has so many outs.
and that's why it's rough, and that's why I'm saying it's still in Greninja's favor. But if you can get that ball rolling real early, and if they are playing, like, Greninja already plays from behind, but playing even further behind than they're used to, and having to take this Trev knockout, and then, like, you Super Rotted and Turbo Bolt to it, like, now, like, oh crap, like, I have to kill it again. I say it's closer, probably, 60-40, 65 even, in favor of Greninja, but it's not the 85 where if you don't have Trev, it's more like 85 for Greninja. So it brings it down to a more manageable level, and if it's a bad player playing Greninja and you're good at Manectric, then you should win anyways. So
yeah, if you don't let them get over the late game.
Yeah.
I'm going to say two things about Manectric, and then I want to hear from Chris, just because the three of us have kind of taken a minute to talk about like this little section of the metagame. But Trevenant doesn't resist water, so if they run Muscle Band, they still two-shot you, which is significant, because since you already have Garb out, they just go Moonlight Slash and Muscle Band, you kill it, Moonlight Slash, and then you die, and then you still have to take a turn with Manectric to accelerate again. And then, two, if they run a Tool Scrapper, you're officially a bad deck. It's like... that if they go, like, even if Trev takes a knockout and they have, like, a break or two on board, which assumes that Greninja gets the good draw, which does not happen as much as it does with other decks, but the deck still sets up fine. They go Shuriken, and then Moonlight Slash, just because Shadow Stitch doesn't matter, and then your Trev dies, and then you're back in the position where you have to Turbo Bolt again.
Right.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry that we've kind of taken a moment to overwhelm.
Good. I'm obviously not an expert with Manectric. I have little to no experience with the deck, but the reason I kind of stray away from it is just because of its mediocrity. Like, there's no, like, defining, like, there's, like, whenever I look at a deck, I always find, like, something like, oh, this is so unfair about the deck. Like, Toad Bats, like, you have this very disruptive playstyle, along with some damage with bats to go along with it. And with Eviltal, you have, like, this energy bombard, but then when you look at Manectric, you're like, Turbo Bolt.
And that's exactly what's good about it.
110 for 2 and Accelerate 2 energy is unheard of.
The only thing about Manectric that's meh is just its damage. Everything else, I think it's a very good card besides that. I think if it was, like, a little bit more damage, it'd be fantastic, but...
That's an efficient attack. But, like, another thing with Mega Manectric is, like, I still don't think your Rainbow Road matchup's that great.
Oh, God, no. No, you get rolled by Rainbow Road.
I was about to bring that up. The reason I think it's an awful play for Philly, and I would never consider it, is you lose to two of the best decks in the format, Greninja and Rainbow Road. Like, you're going to play those decks probably, if you make it to 14 rounds, you're probably going to play against 5 or 6 of those. You're going to lose 4 or 5 out of those 6. Like, you're already at a top cut. You don't want to take losses to that. Like, any deck that basically just says, I lose to 30 or more % of the metagame consistently, like, why play that?
What if you played an Age of Slash?
Against what?
Against Rainbow Road.
So then they go Hex knockout.
There's
a card called Energy Switch too.
There's also a Hollow EX that has an attack. It's a fire type. Yeah, so its attack can actually one-shot.
Send Alex to the rotisserie. Dang.
Just as roasted as Alex right now.
Oh, yikes!
Alright.
There's a way that Manectric can beat Rainbow Road. There's a way.
We talked about Night March, but I'm
There's a way.
gonna transition this over to more talking about Vespiquen, because
3 Parallel City, that's how. Done.
One of our discussion points is about Karen, and yes, we've covered our bases with Karen and Night March, and I think we all agree that deck is still not terrible, but at least personally, I think Vespiquen gets a lot worse. Like,
Can I say something in 10 seconds? Just end the Vespiquen talk because we don't really need to talk about
it. Do it.
There's no reason ever to play Vespiquen over Night March. Night March is the better Vespiquen deck. Don't bother playing.
There's about like.
Yeah, unless you're Raul Reddy or like Fred Hoban or Andrew Ramble,
yeah.
don't play Vespiquen for everyone. It's just an inferior Night March deck. End of discussion.
There's about 50 viewers right now that just got triggered by that comment.
It's true. There's just no reason to play it.
Was.
But I mean, like the big deal is like Vespiquen is a Night March deck that runs 14 more Pokemon, whereas Night March gets to play 4 time puzzles and stuff. And it's like, okay, so your Vespiquen list looks like a butt ton of Pokemon, supporters, 4 Battle Compressor, 4 Ultra Ball, and then Energy. Whereas a Night March deck, it gets these tools like Time Puzzle, which is literally huge whenever Karen exists.
The only reason I would ever even consider playing Vespiquen over Night March at a tournament, which will never happen because this meta is never going to occur, is if the meta is like only Toadbats and Groudon, because those are the only matchups where Vespiquen is like better than Night March in those matchups. And like if the meta's all that, great, yeah, okay, Vespiquen's fine, but there's no meta that's ever going to be those.
Even then, like Groudon and Toadbats can still beat Vespiquen.
Groudon used to roll Vespiquen.
Yeah,
and still
honestly,
does.
even against Groudon and Toadbats, I'd rather just play Trevenant.
Groudon kind of rolls Vespiquen, especially if you're playing heavy energy denial, because they don't have a way to recycle energy outside of a special charge. Yeah.
Another thing is this is not a discussion topic, but I'm just personally curious of your opinion. Like I know that we like kind of crapped on Groudon.
We're also at 31 minutes, by the way. Just saying.
What's our time?
We're supposed to be 30.
35.
Oh, it's supposed to be 35. Okay, so
we should be.
I mean, we can just skip that then. It's not that big of a deal. I was just curious about like whether or not you guys thought Groudon was good, but I mean that kind of ties in.
Well, Eric mentioned earlier. He said it was busted.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very good deck. It's never going to be played in high amounts because of the lack of beaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
okay, so
fun story. When we went 60 at Anaheim, the 3 of us all played the same 60. We had the 9 beaches required because we owned some and then we borrowed some from people, but we were short 4 strong energy somehow. So we had to like ask about 5 or 6 people. Like no one had strong energies. We were panicking. We were just like, "Hey, do you have strong energies?" And they're like, don't you have beaches? And we were like, shouldn't you have that stuff? And we're like, no. We were in panic mode because we couldn't find strong energies, but we actually had an over amount of beaches because we thought we were going to play 4 on our list. So we had 12 beaches to use, but only 8 strong energies. Whoops.
Nice.
All right, so let's tie this up so that you can watch your football game, but also so that the viewers don't have crazy too much.
They're losing 3-0 right now. I'm freaking out.
If Philly was tomorrow, what would you play? Alex, go.
Mega Man Electric Guard.
Eric.
With the Trev, obviously, yeah.
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 If you're not playing the Trev, it's like, okay.
Yeah. And if you want my list, I'll send it to the viewers. If you want my list, I will send you my list, and you can go win Philly.
If you are in the subscriber secret hideout.
Hey-oh! God.
Subscribe.
Second one.
Chris.
Probably just Toadbats, you know? That's a good deck, man.
Like, okay, so I know that Toadbats is a good deck, like, because it's a good deck, and yeah, Eric top 4 with it, and Chris, you top 16? You got, like, 18th or something, right?
I got 18th.
Okay, yeah, so like, still you day 2 with it, but it's like, is it that good? Like I know that Toadbat, it's actually that good.
That was a lot of build up for just a. I thought this was.
When I say
you body Night March and Evil Tall, like you cannot lose those matchups. Same with Rainbow Road, you can't lose those matchups. Your bad matchups are Manectric, Trevenant, Groudon is iffy if you get a bad start, and same with Greninja. But everything else is just an auto win. You don't lose anything else.
If you play a Mewtwo, Groudon's easy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't play Mewtwo in my list. I've been thinking about it, but just Groudon just isn't big enough, and it never will be to tech forward.
It's just the fact that I'll explain why. When you think about like all the decks that are being played right now, there's not many that you can think of that play 4 Sycamore. Let's start with that. and they're very item heavy based, and they're very like maybe they're ability based or they're item based. Besides like Greninja, that's probably like the one exception I can make to that rule. But with cards like Silent Lab, Toad, and N, you're eventually gonna draw your opponent into a dead hand, and they're just gonna like their momentum just stops, and you have so many free turns to your disposal that you should probably be able to come up with an advantage in almost any match.
But yeah, there are three things to me in Toadbath that make it just stupidly broken. That like no other deck really takes advantage of as well.
I'm assuming that.
Silent Lab is the first thing.
Okay.
Quaking Punch is the second thing. And taking knockouts on your turn with bats is the third thing. That is so broken that people just don't realize. It is so good. And that, honestly, that's probably why the deck is like... That's probably the number one reason. Just being able to take multiple knockouts on like a turn and just... Oh, it's so good. I could talk for days about Toadbats.
I'm assuming that you're also running, like, in this hypothetical, you're running Toadbats or Philly. Like, I know that you're not... Oh, no, you are going. You are going.
Yeah, I am going.
I mean, I'm assuming that's part of your radar as well.
Yeah, unless something drastic happens, I'll play Toadbats. The only other deck I could see myself playing is Night March.
Yeah.
Maybe Trevenant if, like, I'm really dissatisfied with both, but, yeah.
I mean, like,
it's gonna be Toadbats.
The thing with Toadbats is, like, yes, you abuse Gets to Silent Lab, but I mean, like, sometimes your opponents just, like, they can get out of it, and I know that, yes, not all decks run 4 Sycamore, like you mentioned, but I mean, sometimes they just hit the Sycamores, and I feel like you lose the games where you go N, and they go, okay, I have a supporter. It's just like, if they...
I've got the other broken card in Toadbath, Hypnotoxic Laser. I forgot about that.
I mean, that card is...
There's just so many... Toadbath is just... The reason the deck is good is there's nothing, like, special about each individual card. Well, yeah, each individual card is broken, but just every single card in the deck is just broken.
Oh.
Like, there's just not... Every combination is just like, okay, I'm putting you in a bad situation. Like, what are you gonna do about it? Unless you have like a very good matchup like BG, where you're just like, okay, I lose, or like Manectric, where they just, they don't care about your energy removal or your damage deal in a rough season. There are some matches where you're just gonna auto lose, but every other matchup you just win.
Also, Xander, to kind of like counteract your argument, even if like going behind as Toadbats is almost a good thing in all honesty. Like, starting behind and then working your way back with ends, that's almost a good thing for the deck because you're hindering your opponent's chances of ending. So, like, the argument you're making with, like, oh, you get the one-turn Sycamore, I mean, even then, it's super, like, Toadbat still has Sustain, even when you Sycamore. Like, it's usually, you're still dealing with a 180 HP, 200 HP basic that only requires 1 energy, so it's super easy to power up another one. And when you do knock out that first Toad, you have to deal with N and Silent Lab and Quaking Punch.
Yeah.
The chances of you drawing that godly, like, it's very, very unlikely, and even then, it's called a best of 3. So.
Yeah. I'll just give an example of that before we wrap it up. Like, I played Brandon Cantu who was one of the best players in North America in round 13 or 12 of Day 2, or Day 2 Swiss in Phoenix, and he was playing Rumble Road. Took 2 EX knockouts on the first 2 turns of Game 1. And then the 2, he didn't take another prize for the rest of it. He didn't attack for the rest of the series. Like, I don't care, like, that he takes prizes on me, like, early. I'm gonna lock him out of the game eventually. You do that against every deck that doesn't have an auto win against you. That's why Toadbats is so good.
Yeah. I mean, personally for me, like, yes, I'm always riding Mega Ray, but I mean, like, if Mega Ray has ever been good, I feel like this is the format that Mega Ray is good. And we've talked about a lot of stuff that like seems harsh against Mega Ray, but like after some testing, I don't think Rainbow Road is as bad. Just like I've kind of figured out a game plan for it. It's just like Hex really hurts them because they don't run like their turn 1. They get normally 1 fairy energy on the board, and if they attack with it, then you can just go Hex, knock out the Xerneas, kill the fairy energy, and then they're in a position where okay, they're behind a turn. So you can go Lysander and EX for knockout. They bring up their Xerneas, Hex kill it, and then they don't have another energy on board. Which
you can also argue the same with Mega Ray though, because like what happens is like say you're going first and you turn 1 Hex them, it's actually probably better to Hex them than to Getsus in all honesty, because like when you Hex them, you're getting rid of all their Shamans, all their Hoopas, and they're going to be lucky to get Energy and Mega Rayquaza on that turn.
Yeah, but I mean, like, other than that matchup, like, I don't think I've gone against Toadbats and they've taken a prize versus me playing Rainbow Road, which I can tell.
Play you any day. Any day.
I'll play you.
I know that Trainer insists that Evital beats it, but I mean,
actually,
one of the things like Magearna's really huge right now. Like we didn't talk about a Selgor, but like a Selgor could be one of those things that comes back, and like Magearna wrecks that.
Selgor's expecting Selgor.
It's a good expecting,
sure. Like 10 seconds second about Selgor, expecting Selgor for Philly. But it's like you get past Deck and Cover, you get past Silent Fear, just stuff like that. You get past Stardust, which are all like really frustrating things for you. And also with Magearna, you can Soul Heart for game. Is that the attack? Soul Heart, whatever. The
Soul Blaster.
I didn't even know Magearna had an attack. I just used it as ability.
Yeah, you actually use it in the matchup against Trevenant with Sammy Box. It's like one of the best attackers you can use.
Huh.
But like, because you resist them. So what's that? Treat Slam only does 40.
And they can't Silent Fear you.
Yeah, but you only really need 2 Emerald Break knockouts in a game because Magearna can Lysander a Shaman per game. So you're no longer as worried about them going, oh my goodness, they'll parallel city me and I'll cry because you have Karen for that turn, and if they do it again, you have Magearna. So you have outs.
You also have energy disruption in Toadbats too, might I add. Like you have enhanced hammer. I play Headringers too, so like you have ways around a soul blaster.
I mean, I'm not worried about it versus Toadbats, but just like, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks everyone for watching this discussion we've had. Thanks Eric, Alex, and Chris for taking the time to come and do this. Make sure to check out more of the premium articles that we have. We got a ton of cool stuff. I have an article coming out after Fort Wayne. I'm pretty sure that you guys have some articles coming out soon, but
I got one coming out.
I have one coming out. I forget if it's the week of Fort Wayne or the week after.
I have one coming out after Philly.
Eric and I will both be at Philly, so please feel free to introduce yourselves. It won't be hard to find us. I'm really loud and obnoxious. Eric's really good, so if you're near top tables, you'll see him.
Hey.
But just thank you all for taking the time to come watch. Does anyone have anything else that they want to quickly add?
Make sure to subscribe to Secret Hideout, guys.
Yes, subscribe to Secret Hideout.
Support us.
Don't get N-baited, guys.
Yeah. Alright, but thanks everyone for watching, signing out.
Good luck in Philly, everyone.
Yes, good luck in Philly. See you guys there.
I should probably end the video now.
Yeah.
But we haven't. And